My best friend Jane and I have known each other since childhood. We've always had each other's back, but I feel like I don't know the person she's become over the past year. The reason is I gave birth last year. Jane always wanted kids, but unfortunately she's infertile. Her husband left her when she found out, but she moved on and was in a new relationship. Last year I found out I was pregnant with triplets. Since there's a lot of uncertainty involved with multiple births, dear husband and I decided not to inform anybody until after the first trimester. Even then, we'll only tell them about the pregnancy and not about the triplets. We thought it would be a nice surprise once the babies were born. After my first trimester, I called my parents and in-laws first and informed them of the news. Immediately after that, I called Jane and broke the news to her. She was surprised and a little angry, but later wished as well. But throughout the pregnancy, I noticed that she was acting distant. But I understood what she was going through and gave her some space. When my sons were born, they spent a few weeks in the NICU. It was very stressful, so we only told the news to our parents. My mom later informed Jane, and she called me screaming about how selfish I was to hide this fact from her. My mom took the phone from me and went out to talk. I didn't know what was said, but when she came back, she was angry. About a month later, we could bring all the babies home, and it was Christmas time, so we decided to have a welcome home party. I invited Jane and she came. When she saw my babies, she asked if she could have one of my babies. When I said no, she screamed, woke up the babies, and later stormed out. After that, she constantly tried to call me to ask for my baby, make Facebook posts about how I'm a selfish friend, get our mutual friends to call me, and many more. Finally, after a particularly nasty post, my husband and I decided to go no contact with Jane. Yesterday, when I was out shopping, my husband was at home with my mother-in-law taking care of the babies when she showed up at our house drunk and begging to give her one of my sons. My mother-in-law called the cops and they got her to go away, but I got scared and have applied for a restraining order. We had already decided to move to have more space for the babies, but now we've decided to speed up the process and move out by the end of the month. A restraining order could impact her job, but I'm scared for my babies. I also found out Jane's new boyfriend left her, and she's depressed. Some of my mutual friends tell me that I was harsh and am the idiot for scolding my friend. Not the idiot. Jane is a literal, demonstrable threat to your family. If that's because she's having mental health issues, she can work on those away from you. Your only obligation here is to keep yourself and your kids safe, and unfortunately that might include cutting off anyone making excuses for her too. It's only going to worsen if you don't take action now. This woman needs help. The next time your mutual friends call you to say you're harsh or should give a mentally ill person one of your children, tell them they need to help her get treatment and hang up. You have 3 babies to worry about. Forget about Jane and her enablers. Anybody who tells you you're harsh and an idiot is not your friend, and you should go no contact with those people as well and never ever give them your new address. Jane has issues. Maybe the restraining order is going to make her realize she needs help. I'm speechless too. I don't know how a bunch of adults think you can just give out one of 3 babies to someone who is obviously unstable. Do any of your friends understand the impact on the child that was given away? The impact on the other children? I seriously cannot believe a bunch of adults think this is a logical solution and that you're a bad friend for not just giving your child away. She needs help, not a baby. Jane needs to be in therapy. OP, is there a way your mother would be able to contact her parents and let them know about her behavior and encourage them to try and get her help? If not your mother, then someone else who might be in a position to let her family know that she's spiraling and needs to get help. She could have chosen the cool aunt role in the future, but she forfeited that right. I'm so sorry, OP. I, female 36, have been with my boyfriend, 41, for 2 years. He has 3 little kids while I have a teen son. The other day, my stepson fell off the stairs and injured his ankle. My dad and I had to get him to the hospital and needed someone to stay with the kids while we were there. My boyfriend told my son to skip work today and stay with and watch his stepbrothers. When we returned, my son asked my boyfriend to pay him for babysitting his kids. I admit my son doesn't have the best relationship with his stepdad or step-siblings, but my boyfriend and I were shocked by this. My son explained that he had to skip a workday, which cost him to lose money, and asked my boyfriend to pay him for his time. My boyfriend scolded him harshly and told him that staying at home with his stepbrothers isn't babysitting and he deserves no money for it. Plus that skipping one day of work won't do much harm. But my son disagreed and kept arguing with my boyfriend, saying his stepbrothers aren't his responsibility. My boyfriend ended up punishing him and taking away all his electronics, as well as cancelling his birthday months away. My son fought back, talking about how unfair this was, and asked me to get involved. I sided with my boyfriend because I did not appreciate how my son used this family emergency to his advantage and thought he'd get money from helping the family out. My son didn't like where I stood in this conflict and accused me of favouring my stepkids to stay on my boyfriend's good side while ignoring the mistreatment towards him. I cut the argument and he's become silent ever since, even refused to eat with us or sit with us. Am I the idiot for agreeing with my boyfriend to punish my son? You are the idiot. He's not their stepbrother. You are not married to that man. That's your boyfriend. Your son had to miss out on a day of work, a day of play, and you couldn't pay him for babysitting. The young teen's father could have gone to the hospital with his son alone while you stayed home with the rest of the kids. This isn't your son's problem. It doesn't take two people for a sprained or broken ankle. Yes, the child's father should have taken his son and she should have stayed home. Most hospitals only allow one person back anyway. I don't get how parents allow someone they're dating to treat their child like that and they back them up. She'll end up without her boyfriend one day, and it will be too late to build the relationship she destroyed with her son. Right? His mom probably stayed in the car doing absolutely nothing instead of staying with the other kids. She's letting her boyfriend mistreat her son to stay on his good side. What an idiot. OP sounds extremely passive, and her boyfriend is controlling. You need to do much better for your son, OP. You're going to need him when your boyfriend's awfulness is turned more on you. There are like 10 other people they should have turned to before having the stepson miss work. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbours, pastors, sending the kids off to their own friends. For me, the big issue here is that they made him call off work, then wouldn't compensate him. I mean, I get being upset if he was home doing nothing. They asked him for help in an emergency and he refused to help. It's not his responsibility, but it is the basic decent thing to do to help someone in an emergency. But this is different. He had work. Yes, they should have compensated him for assisting them and been grateful. My female 26 husband, 30, Jerry, works in a company that requires him to travel a lot. When I was pregnant, I used to stay with my in-laws whenever he had a trip. His parents are saints. They adore me and always offer to help with everything. They say that I'm like the daughter they never had. Before I gave birth, Jerry told me he had to go on a business trip and he was most likely going to miss our son's birth because he was going away for 2 weeks. I was upset, but he explained that he was doing this to be able to provide for our son and us. I wasn't okay with it, but it's ultimately his decision. I'm sure if he had explained this to his company, they'd have probably given him time off. Jerry asked that I stay with my family instead of his because he said that if they found out that he was going on a trip and missing our son's birth, they'd give him grief. I agreed but went to stay with my family. It turned out that Jerry lied to his parents about being there for our son's birth and asked them not to visit till later because he was allegedly worried for our newborn and wanted me to get rest. Last Sunday, his mom and dad finally visited after returning from his trip, and I returned home after staying with my family for a couple of weeks. We were talking about our son, and Jerry's mom asked Jerry about our hospital stay. He said that I didn't stop complaining about everything and was being difficult to everyone. I was shocked. His mom laughed and said all women are like that after they give birth, but I told her that yes, but not all men abandon their wives during one of their most difficult times and miss their first baby's birth over a work trip that could have easily been rescheduled. Jerry's mom asked what I meant, and I told her that her son wasn't there for the birth of his first child. She unleashed her anger upon him and his dad joined in. A huge argument ensued, and Jerry started lashing out, then told me we had to leave. He went off calling me childish and petty in the car for outing him to his parents and tattling on him like that. He said that I had no right even to complain because it wasn't like he was on vacation or a golfing trip, but was just working hard to be able to provide for us as the breadwinner, and I should respect that and be thankful instead of stirring stuff up and trying to gain his parents' sympathy while turning them against him. I got home and started crying while arguing with him. He still said I was out of line to do what I did and acted like his work wasn't as important. We stopped talking after that, and from what I understand, his parents are still pretty much upset with him, and he's saying I'm the reason why he's being harassed by them. I think that I went too far by telling them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So he was okay throwing you under the bus and saying you were being difficult and expected you to just go along with his lie? He could have easily said, it was such a whirl I can't really remember, and at least then he wouldn't have thrown you under the bus. What else is he going to miss because he's providing for his family? The worst part is that he was making it out like you were a pain in the hospital. That was an idiot move. For me, that would make me reconsider being married to him. What an incredibly immature idiot husband you got yourself. He was lying so mommy and daddy don't get mad, afraid to ask for time off for the birth of a child, having his wife shuffle around other people's homes to keep up his lie, and then, to top it all off, freaking mocking you as being grumpy when he wasn't even present. That's insane. Let me turn giving birth into a nightmare for my wife, and then, just for fun, decide to make crap up about her and spread those lies around too. Wonder if work even knew she was pregnant. I also wonder that if they didn't know, was Jerry the only worker on the trip? Sounds suspicious. OP, welcome to the preview to your future where you and your child will always be second priority and a lifetime of being manipulated. If I were you, I'd go back to school, get a degree or something so that you can work, or you will forever be indebted to your breadwinner. Last year, I, 27 male, proposed to my fiancée, 28 female. We're going to push our wedding to next year. My fiancée and I have a lot of different interests and friend groups. My friends are on the nerdy side and enjoy playing video games, watching movies, and D&D. My fiancée's group all come from wealthy families and are very girly. However, my fiancée and I love each other and plan to spend the rest of our lives together. Fiancée does like to hang out with my friends, and I've taught her to play some video games. I don't mind hanging with her friends, but they can be very judgmental and make comments. Fiancée invited me to come out with her friends to celebrate, and I did get dressed up. The one friend wanted to try a fancy new restaurant that had opened. Most of the food items were over $20, and I ordered a large appetizer as my main dish. My fiancée ordered a salad and cocktail. Her friends ordered a bunch of drinks and expensive entrees. When it came time to pay the bill, her one friend looked at me and said, "Fiancé said you would be treating us out tonight." I gave my fiancée a look and told the waiter to split the entire check, so I only paid for my fiancée and me. Fiancée didn't speak to me the entire ride back to our apartment. However, I did bring up what happened at the restaurant and fiancée got defensive, saying that I shouldn't have made her look like a fool in front of her friends. Am I the idiot for embarrassing my fiancée in front of her friends? Not the idiot. The fact that she made decisions about your money without your knowledge or consent and acted like you were the bad guy for not going along with it is a serious red flag. You should really think about if you want to spend the rest of your life with this woman. Like, where did she get the impression you'd be paying? Did she actually tell them you'd be treating her and her friends? Or was her friend being an idiot too? What? She invited you out with her friend group, you didn't pick the venue, and you were expected to pay? At best, she is an idiot for thinking her friends saying you should pay is acceptable. At worst, you're not her fiancé, you're her wallet. And she expected that you would pay for all of them and that she could just not run that by you. You need to have a discussion because it's not about embarrassing her, it's about what she's in the relationship for. Dude, she didn't tell you because she knew you'd have a problem with it and figured social pressure would make you cave. So manipulative. And now she's saying you embarrassed her. She embarrassed herself. I seriously reconsider the engagement and the relationship with her. My boyfriend and I have been dating for over a year, and in that time he's never owned a car. I have one, and he's been using my car for things like groceries, seeing friends, going hiking, appointments, etc. He does split gas with me, but I pay for insurance, maintenance, etc. He probably uses the car as much as me, at least 3 or 4 days a week, but he refuses to get his own. I had many discussions about him getting his own car, but he made it clear he thought cars were a waste of money and didn't want to pay for one. I lived pretty close to him and he wanted me to continue living in my apartment nearby so he could have access to my car. That's not what he said, but that's the impression I got. So I moved to a cheaper apartment 10 minutes away by car, which is 45 minutes by public transport. I did it partly for the cheaper rent, but partly to stop him from using my car. He was angry because now he can't use my car and asked me to give him my car from Friday to Sunday to continue to use it. I said no, and he said I needed to drive to visit him every time because it took too long by bus, and I had a car so I could visit him easier. I told him I would only visit him once he made an effort to visit me once because I felt he would get used to me giving in to whatever he wanted, like letting him use my car. After 4 months, he got frustrated enough to buy his own car, but he complained it was a waste of money. By the way, he's not poor. He's actually an accountant that makes good money. He just hates spending any of it. He called me the idiot for not driving to visit him and forcing him to buy a car because the bus takes too long. LOL. Time for your son, boyfriend, to grow up and figure out his own means of transportation. Not the idiot, but honestly, you need to put some steel in your spine and deal with your fear of confrontation. Moving partly to stop him from using your car is ridiculous. He thinks, why waste money buying a cow if he already gets the milk for free? You just happen to take away the cow, now he's forced to buy the milk. Life's tough. You got to think of yourself first. The car is legally in your name. Anything he does in that car is on you. If he's using you for a car, I wonder what else he's using you for. It sucks being him now. If you stay with him, your future will be filled with angst and issues. If he thinks cars are a waste of money, why does he want to use yours? Because it's a waste of his money, but he's fine leeching and freeloading off of you and your money. Just consider this. If he doesn't want to spend money on things he needs, like transportation, what will a life with him be like? Will it be torture getting him to fund kids or housing adequately? Is he worth all the aggravation that goes along with being with him? Good luck, OP.